ladies and gentlemen, and the members of the press. You're welcome. It's now time for the question and answer session. We crave the indulgence to kindly introduce yourself and the media outlet you're representing, and also indicate your name. In addition, I would also kindly urge you make your questions very precise, so that the governor can do justice and in a timely manner. So once again, welcome. Kindly raise your hand. Honorable Governor.
Yes, please.
Greetings, each and everyone. Honorable Governor and each and everyone. Greetings to you in your names. I am Envas from Voice, you speak. Honorable Governor, you mentioned that looking at the budget deficit of our dear country, the Gambia, I will draw your mind back to your statement that the Gambia as a country at 60 is depending on treasury bills. And you've mentioned an amount which is standing to serve this nation for the next few months. I would want you to justify that fact you've raised and give us the reasons why this country is standing on a debt rate of treasury upon treasury.
Okay, thank you very much for that important question. Our debt level, I agree, is very, very high. But these are mainly legacy loans. Now, in terms of financing government operations, every country tries to be very creative, innovative, and what we are doing in the Gambia, like you said, is to try and move from financing our fiscal operations from issuing treasury bills. Now, what we are doing through innovative financing, we've established a capital market in the Gambia since last year. There are a lot of private resources that can be used to build assets for this country by creating investment opportunities for the private sector with surplus funds, whilst at the same time building assets for the country and the next generation of Gambians without increasing the debt level or creating debt that when it comes to time to pay, we'll be scratching our head. We've moved from that. That is these short-term treasury bills. And the reason why I'm saying that, there are government revenues that are available annually to develop this country's infrastructure, be it road infrastructure, electricity, water, education, health, IT infrastructure, the basic foundations that we need to develop this country to move to the next stage, that is moving from low income to middle income, and we are shooting for upper middle income. Like I said, without creating that debt burden that when it comes to time to pay, will be moving around finding resources. And how are we doing that? Let me explain. There is fuel revenue. Every liter of petrol that you and I buy from the pumps, we contribute to road maintenance and road construction. The OMCs, those who are operating petrol stations, they contribute to the fuel revenue. The importers of fuel, suppliers, contribute to that. I think on average, the government is collecting $9 per liter. And that $9 per liter translates to $100 million a month. When the GRA collects that, it goes to the consolidated revenue fund. And government have agreed to now leverage those resources $100 million cannot, a month for the year cannot build us much in terms of kilometer of road. So what we are doing as a government is to leverage those resources that NRA have by getting directives from the accountant general, because it's only the accountant general who can open accounts, move money in and out of government accounts in the central bank. That's the law. The accountant general now directs that that $100 million is of fuel revenue, which is collected monthly and allocated to the National Road Authority for the maintenance and construction of roads, is put in a ring-fence account in the central bank that the National Road Authority can now issue a register with the SEC, that is the Security and Exchange Commission in the central bank, an arm of the capital market, and then they can float financial instruments to raise money. And what is happening? They floated, they needed, the government is trying to complete 1,200 kilometers of road. Previously, it would have been, like you said, borrowing treasury bills or medium to long-term bonds. But now the ability to pay will be questioned later. Now that is no more there. This money that is in the ring-fence account, they can borrow and it will be accumulating. The first test was done last year when it was issued for 1 year, and that maturity was, I believe, January 9th or 6th. Yeah. And then what the issue, the instrument issued at the time was to raise $850 million. When they floated that, they got $1,070 million. And on January 9th, that money had accumulated in that reference account and it was paid. So instead of accumulating debt, these are the creative ways of financing these road constructions we are doing. We are not borrowing from foreign sources. They are not grants. They are not loans from foreign sources. We are using our domestic resources, leveraging all the resources available internally, and use that to build roads whilst accumulating this fuel revenue to pay. After the 850 million instrument, another 500 was issued, fully subscribed, and also very soon it will be payment and the money is already there. So these are borrowings that are backed by real financial resources that at maturity, we tell you your money is there. So this is the creative way of financing these infrastructure developments without, it's sort of a borrowing, but you are not borrowing, increasing the debt with no ability to pay. Those days are gone. And we are even going for bigger amounts in the form of swap arrangement with Afro-Exim Bank, which amounts to 75 million US dollars. And the same fuel revenue that is housed here. NRA now floats, but in Dallas, 75 million worth of Dallas bonds for 5 years. Afro-Exim comes to buy that, but they don't have the Dallases. They have $75 million. They show up that with the central bank. Central bank keeps the $75 million and give them the Dallases to buy that instrument. And they keep for 5 years. We keep the foreign currency, 75 million for 5 years. And we invest in Afro-Exim at a rate of 5% that we get on that investment. The investment of Afro-Exim in that NRA bond is at the MPR rate of 17%. At the end of the 5 years, we unwind the swap. I give them back their dollars after earning 5% per year for 5 years, which is going to be profit for the central bank. And at the end of the year, we make more money in terms of surplus and pay dividend to government, which can be used again to finance other infrastructure or social programs of the government. Afro-Exim now gets their dollars. They give us our dollars back. They have their dollars, and the 17% income they earn, they go to the domestic foreign currency market, buy foreign currency, and take to their headquarters in Cairo. So these are the creative ways that we will now move away from this ratcheting up of increasing of debt, like in terms of financing our development, with possibility of crash later on. So through this innovative way of financing, there will be no issue of when it's time to pay, there is no money, as it happened recently in some countries within the sub-region. And we are trying to increase those resources by bringing in the fisheries resources. The foreign vessels that fish in our waters, they pay to the Ministry of Fisheries. His Excellency, the President, have given directive that 70% of those fisheries resources are also put in a ring-fence account in the central bank, now at a subsidized rate price. Now, the subsidy that the government gives now to sell price electricity to us at a reduced rate, that money, we all pay for it from the revenue that is collected. And that money is going to be given to the central bank. Instead of giving it to NAWEC, it comes to the central bank. Those fisheries resources, the NAWEC tariff compensation money in the budget, those two funds will be put together, and not roads now, not the road infrastructure, but this time electricity infrastructure to finance that, so that we build our own power stations and be able to generate electricity internally. Currently, we are buying electricity importing from Kapawa, which is a Turkish company, Senelec, the Senegalese electricity company, and Guinea Conakry. So it's high time that we realize inwards and try to do things for ourselves. And that is what government is doing now, to deliver services to the Gambian people without necessarily increasing the domestic debt. Like I said, most of these increases, we are all struggling with it, but they are legacy debts. And what do we have to show for it? Very little. But if you are taking money, even if you are borrowing, investing in productive sectors that will yield income for you to pay those resources, then you might as well do it to develop our country. That's what we are doing, to answer your question, to move from those treasury buildings to instruments where we finance and eventually pay without any problem or increasing the debt.
Thank you, Honorable. I would like to shift a little bit to deficits and remittance.
Say that again.
Deficits and remittance.
Okay.
Looking at, sorry, let me just shift a little bit to IMF and then I'll come down to remittance. And
it's your choice.
Okay. Looking at the IMF report,
yes.
Please, can you help us with a statistical analytical point of view of what was given to our dear country, the Gambia, as per the development in this nation, as we celebrating the 60th Diamond Jubilee?
IMF did not give us any money for the celebration of the 60th Diamond Jubilee. IMF does not finance those kind of fiscal expenditures. Let me tell you, IMF is like a cooperative organization, like Ususu. We call it locally. All members contribute what they call quota to the IMF. And every country borrows from IMF by taking your own quota. So you are using your own savings in the IMF. They give it to you in the form of balance of payment surplus. They don't finance any other projects or program in countries. They give only central banks for balance of payment support. What that means, if your gross official reserve the reserve that we are holding, I mentioned as of January is 515 million US dollars. Now, if that reserve goes down, in order to finance international trade transactions and pay for goods and services, we use those reserves to pay. Now, we don't export much as a country to get foreign currency. So when your foreign currency reserves goes down, I mentioned the current account of the balance of payment. That widened year on year, but on quarterly basis, it narrowed because of seasonal factors. But year on year, traditionally, is widening, meaning we are borrowing to finance our consumptions here. So the IMF will give loan to us, a certain percentage of our quotas to finance those international transactions. Now, what they do recently to support government's fiscal operations, they will make agreements with the country so that when they give that balance of payment support to the central bank only lends a part of that to the government, that is the Ministry of Finance. And we sign an MOU that is to finance fiscal operations as a form of budget support. But the IMF does not give any country money to spend on independence celebration. Yes, what is the next question?
Honorable President.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Governor.
Yes, please.
I just want to ask this question as I saw the screen projected and I saw that the domestic debt.
Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sorry. My name is Edward Francis Dahlia. Edward Francis Dahlia from Askanwit. I saw that the domestic debt is continually increasing.
Yes.
So what are the factors that are driving this?
Yes.
What are the factors that are driving domestic debts to be continuing increasing?
Well, the factors, like I was trying to explain for the past almost 15, 20 minutes or so, as a country, the country needs to develop. The government of the day needs to deliver to the Gambian people. You are seeing roads being built. Recently, the activity is to complete 1,200 kilometers of road. Before that, there were road constructions that were financed partly from foreign sources and also domestic. But let me restrict answering to your question on the 1,200 kilometer of road that His Excellency's government is building. And from February 18 to May 2025, during this period, we expect that those roads will be completed and the president will commission them. And these are the Nyomi Hakalan Road from Independence that has never been paved. So from Nomi, I forgot the village, all the way to Kuntaya. 80-something kilometers, 86 or 88 kilometers, I'm not too sure. I remember this from my previous work as permanent secretary. The other road is Sankandi, from Sankandi, the Kian Road, going inside Kian to Karantaba. That also 80-something kilometers. And also there is another major road around the Salum areas, all the way to Bambali. That corridor also is 30-something kilometers. All those are financed from our domestic revenue. Like I said, the revenue collection by GRA, Mr. Yankuba Dabo and team, is recently projected to increase to 20 billion, but before it was way less than that. That is not enough to finance this road. A kilometer of road would cost you more than $1 million or so, if I'm not mistaken, from what I've had in some meetings. Now, to be able to build all these roads, you need financing. And that's what we are saying. Some of these treasury bills are legacy loans. When they mature and there is no money, the government has to roll over. What that roll over means, that means they issue another set of treasury bills, and then the banks would buy. So that postpones evil days. That's why I said what the government is doing recently in order to reduce those legacy loans and those bar graphs that you see keep going, to reduce them, is to use these sole revenue sources that we will now use private capital that are in the banks, and the banks cannot spend that on medium to long-term lending. Why? Because there is a mismatch in their balance sheet. Those deposits that you and I put there are for short term, 1 year at most. And then if the bank is to finance a loan to give to you to develop your media house for 3 years, when your deposit is for 1 year, and they take that money, give it to you for 3 years, when you come to withdraw your money for additional financing of your needs, there'll be no money. So what we are doing now, create these long-term bonds that the money is there, and now the banks, knowing that this money is so, will put their money there, will buy that. If you come and they have liquidity crunch, central bank has a lending window, and I gave that, the rate on that window. They can come and borrow short time, or even before coming there, they can use the interbank money market, borrow and smoothen that financing. So basically, what I'm trying to say, going forward, those big bars that you'll be seeing will be going down. And now we'll be able to finance our infrastructure developments. These are roads, hospitals, electricity, education. There is an expansion in the number of schools built, headquarters for teachers. Teachers are increasing in numbers, increase in salaries. All these are things that the sitting government of the day of any country needs to deliver to the citizenry, because that's why governments exist. Collect our taxes and put it together to provide services that we need. And it's high time, Gambia at 60, for us to now, it's not a matter of macroeconomic stability. What we are saying, the old Gambia at 60 retires, because in this country we retire at age 60. So the old Gambia is retired. But the new Gambia that is there, these are the ways in terms of hand-holding to finance development projects, so that we can, as a country, be hopeful and see things happening and know that we can do it for ourselves. We don't have to depend on IMF, European Union, and other multilateral development agencies. Let me tell you something, and all Gambians, Gambian citizens, these countries now are now focusing on themselves. We've recently had the UK Prime Minister announce that they are cutting on assistance and increasing, I think, defense spending. In the US, the new administration, a major funding and aid institution or agency of the federal government of the United States, USAID, has been reduced significantly. So that grant and support that we are getting from developed nations is going up. So we have to prepare ourselves mentally and change our attitudes and look inwards and use our resources to develop ourselves.
So in a nutshell, will I say that the development, the booming development that we are seeing, let me quote, because we may say that we are developing as a country.
Yes.
But when we go through it deeply, we will see that when the government projects something like a budget to us, they spend almost half of it. They will not spend all of what they have projected. For example, in agriculture, they may project 25 billion and they will spend 10,000 or 10,000 or something like that. They will not reach billions. So will I say now, this development that we are gaining or we are expecting or we are having, it is influencing this domestic debt?
Let me educate you on that area. A budget is an intent to spend.
Yeah.
A budget shows that as a government or you as an individual, as a business entity, your media house, you operate on a budget, whether you know it or not. because you have expenditures and you sell your product and get revenue. So for the year or for the month, what you intend to spend and what you intend to collect is your budget.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, let me learn.
I understand everything that you say.
Please.
What I am trying to say is,
let me learn. I'm trying to educate you.
No, I understand about budget.
No, you don't understand it. Because if you understand, your question will not take that dimension. What I'm trying to tell you, the budget approved by the National Assembly is a budget. That's the intent to spend. But it doesn't mean that that's going to be the actual expenditure.
Yeah, I know that.
It can be less, it can be over. Now, using your own example, for instance, if they are to spend $5 million on agriculture and they spend $3 million, there could be several factors. One, the resources expected are less than expected. Absorption capacity. Even if you say, I'm going to spend $5 billion this year, but do you have the absorption capacity? You can want to spend. Now, if you want to develop the groundnut sector, do you have the capacity, the farmers, do you have those things that need spending on, like fertilizer, delivering it on time? If it comes late or the fertilizer is not available, that portion of the budget to spend on fertilizer or seeds or farm implements or the number of extension service workers that are not hired or some are on training. So you spend less than what you anticipate to spend. It doesn't necessarily mean that you budget something and you spend less. That shows inefficiency or something like that. That's why I'm trying to explain to you.
I'm not taking my question to that direction.
Yes.
I bring this to tell you that do we mean what is influencing our debt is the development that we as a country are experiencing currently?
No. Let me tell you something. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. If you are trying to build Nomi Hakala, when I was permanent secretary, each of those roads I mentioned, the Hakalan Road, the Sankandi Road, and the one in Jain Sanjal area, all of them are more than $1 billion. $1 billion in the budget. How much revenue does GRA collect on a monthly basis? And that collection does not go only to roads, it goes to the health sector, education, those collections. Let me tell you what happens. At the Ministry of Finance, there is a cash committee. They sit every month because I was there as permanent secretary, and then allocate the revenue that is collected for that month to all the government ministries, sectors, and agencies. The money may not be enough. In fact, most of the time, the revenue collected is not enough. So that's why I said we go to the market to borrow, to finance those things, and later repay those. And every government does that. Do you know how much money the US government owes? Trillions of dollars. If you follow news and the political activities in the US, at some point, the fight between Republicans and Democrats in their Congress and Senate, it gets to a point where they almost have a government shutdown until the 11th hour. That's when they will agree to pass a budget that they will be able to still borrow more to pay for the old debt. Even in the US, the mighty United States, this thing happened. Like I said, it depends on the creativity of the government of the day and the areas that these monies are invested in to generate, income and services rendered to the people that the loan can pay itself. In the past, we've not been wise in using these borrowed resources. But as a country, we've learned, and systems are different. We call for a system change. And that's why institutions have been restructured and reformed to make them strong. Whether me, governor, is here today or not, if we have a strong central bank with a good credibility. The next governor that comes does not have a choice but to follow those rules and procedures. And then the strong institution remains, and the credibility to raise resources, finance this kind of development continues. There is no government that can tell you on the face of the earth, as far as I know, as an economist, that I get this revenue, I spend this, I don't have any debt. Tell me who? Even in advanced economies, they borrow to develop until when they stabilize and grow and they get out of borrowing heavily. So they take less debt and spend more of their resources wisely. But as a developing country, where are you going to get all these infrastructure development, the social um, needs of our communities, paying salaries, creating jobs, uh, uh, moving to the next level? I told you, moving from low income to middle income with only domestic revenue, or waiting for advanced countries to give us handout. My friend, will not go anywhere. So we have to be creative. What is important is, let us desist and move away from wasteful spending and borrowing and putting it in unproductive areas. And then when it's time to pay, there is no resources, because where you put the money is not generating anything. But you invest money in areas that generate income. At the end of the period, you'll be able to have money to pay that back. And that's why the government very soon will lay the foundation stone, inshallah, from Sitting Corner to Mandinaba to build a toll road, just like the appears from Boots to Dakar. Look at how that road has now increased investment opportunities, economic growth, save time of travel, the wear and tear on vehicles. Same thing we are trying to do. We have to adopt to uh, uh, latest technologies, financial innovations to develop our country. When we build that corridor, I mean the government, sitting from Westfield all the way to Brikama. I'm originally from Lamin. Before, from Lamin to Banjul, it takes you not more than 30 minutes. You are there. But now, if 7 o'clock finds you in Lamin to get to Banjul, it may take you 2 hours because of the traffic congestion. Much more from Brikama to Banjul, to Westfield. And that's why drivers have segmented transport costs. You from Westfield, I think, to Tabokoto, you pay. Tabokoto to Lamen, you pay. Lamen to, I think, Yundum or Busumbala, you pay. Busumbala to Brikama or Farato, you pay. So imagine how much you pay and the time you spend. So when this road is built, which is going to be, again, a creative way of financing it, this time we are not borrowing in terms of treasury bill or bonds, it's equity. An SPV, special purpose vehicle, will be created. And then that will issue shares to Gambians, diaspora Gambians, multilateral institutions, and other international private investors. When they buy those bonds, we use that money to build the roads. Government agrees with investors for 20 or 25 years. When you use that road, you pay, and we get money back and pay those investors. So those investors have opportunity to invest money in their country and income, while at the same time the country benefits from that infrastructure uh, um, that infrastructure, and for maybe 50 years, because the arrangement with the contractor, the lifespan of the road, minimum 50 years, it will be there. Can you imagine now the economic expansion you get? The businesses that will now be coming up along that road, power stations, you have restaurants, even real estate agencies building housing estates around those areas, other businesses coming up. So this is how you expand and grow your economy, increase prosperity and wealth of all Gambians. So these are the ways that government is trying to move away from what you are questioning. And that is what has been keeping us down, the heavy debt burden. But if you can finance your development through non-debt creating ways, why will you not do it?
Giving a lot of clarity and giving a lot of detail in terms of why the debt has been going and the new dynamics that are being involved to make sure that we use internally generated resources and not necessarily available for anymore. So I think a lot of information has been shared, and I want to encourage us to ask questions in other areas. A lot have been said in this room, so I think on the depth and the new innovative ways of creating revenue that we can use for the developmental purposes have been really well articulated by the Honorable Governor. So if you have any questions in other areas, we are kindly encouraged to ask them, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to assure you, the press and all Gambians, that this high debt that we are all going through is true. We've borrowed to our eyeballs. It's painful for all of us and for everybody, Gambians working for government, not working for government, here in the diaspora. We are all struggling with it. It's us, Gambia. We make up Gambia. So, like I said, it's not an excuse. Most of it is legacy loan. But the current government also have increased on the debt. And that's why we are coming with solutions to say this is not the way to go. The way to go is create less debt and be able to raise private resources and develop our country. And us as civil servants, we are paid to sit in these offices to think creatively, not coming sit there and the whatever wherever you are is on autopilot and we keep on doing the same thing. You cannot be dancing on the same leg, doing the same thing for 60 years, and you are getting the same results, and you want to continue on that. That's the highest point of madness. We have to change. And that's what I am explaining here. It's a paradigm shift, an economic transformation that we need to embark on, a path that we will see different results and achieve results quickly and faster and in big ways. You know, I hate to say, I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but for us Gambians, then to the whole, we need to think big and do big things. That's how you move a country. And that's what we are trying to do as a government to serve the Gambian people. Yes. Any other question?
No other question. Any other question? Any media outlet?
No, it young
Okay.
No,
Thank you.
You cannot give him more than two.
Yes. You want to say something?
No, he has asked more than twice.
No, let him ask. Let him ask. Ask whatever you want to ask. Please.
I was praying for this opportunity.
No, ask whatever you want to ask.
Should I allow you to go like that?
No, okay, ask. Ask. But remember, we owe it to Gambians to go and serve them. This is a bank. It's a bank. Yes, please.
Honorable.
Yes, please.
We are most privileged, we must say.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time and
No
for
problem.
creating this room.
We are here to serve.
In the area of remittance and deficit,
Yes.
sorry, I will not dwell on deficit.
Okay, it's okay. Ask whatever you want to ask.
Remittance
Yes.
and depreciation of dollars. Can you give us a justification of how the dollar is depreciating and how remittance is flowing through?
Okay. I think I understand what you are trying to arrive at. Every country's currency, if it is not a fixed exchange rate where the central bank decides on the exchange rate on a daily basis or at every given time, if you have a floating exchange rate rolling peg or whatever, other than fixed. The exchange rate that emerges at any particular transaction date depends on supply and demand. Just like rice price, bread price, ice cream price, it depends on supply and demand. Now, remittances that you mentioned is on the supply side. You understand? The 515 million that I said we have in the central bank is coming from the supply side. And then what commercial banks have in their banks, foreign exchange bureaus, MTOs, and even the parallel market, otherwise called the black market, there are foreign currencies there. It's all part of the ecosystem of the Gambia. That is the supply side. And the supply side sources for us remittances, tourism, budget support from IMF and other donors, the little we export. These are the main supply sides of foreign currency into the country. Okay? The demand now, we import a lot of things. The roads that have been built, the cement, the roads, most of the input that goes there are imported. The food that we eat, 275,000 metric tons of rice that we consume annually as Gambia. We produce only 29,000 metric tons. Of course, that has increased recently because of intervention of private sector farmers like, how do you call it, Maro Farms, Dabo, Ja Oil, and others that are producing rice, and our local communities. It has gone up, but the gap still is wide. So we import a lot of rice. For this year alone, we are trying to arrange for GGC for 2025 to import 100,000 metric tons of rice. How do we pay for that? From Pakistan. It's not dollars. Pakistan will not take our dollars. It's dollar, US dollar. That is a demand. The supply source, I told you, the demand is coming from rice import, sugar import, edible oil import, vehicles that you drive, fuel, medicine, medical equipment. The list is long. Even students you send abroad to pay for their stipend and tuition. It's all demand for foreign currency. Now, that demand and supply, where they meet, is where the price of the dollar is determined. You understand? Now, in addition to that, global economic developments, that's why we always mention geopolitical activity. The tension in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine, the Ukraine war, all impact commodity supplies and fuel supply prices. If that tension and risk increases and cost of transportation, price goes up. So you pay more for those goods to come in. So the demand, your demand and cost of the dollar is higher than the supply, the price goes up. America recently, to fight inflation, took some monetary policy decisions, their central bank, which means increasing their interest rate to fight aggregate demand and reduce inflation, just like we did here. But the US economy, that increase in interest rate means investment opportunities for people who have money to invest in US economy and government instruments. And to invest there, you need dollar. The demand for dollar goes up. The dollar appreciates against all international currencies. And even Gambia, that means our currency depreciates. We buy a lot of goods from Senegal, and we have to pay in CFA. So that's why always people are saying CFA be there for $8 be done. Because even cherry, pepper, cucumber, you see these watermelons for hotels, vegetables, it's all coming from Senegal. And we can produce those things here. But you and I are refusing to go to the farm or to the garden, even in our backyards. You can grow cabbage, salad, tomatoes, but you are not doing it. I'm not doing it. Somebody else is not doing it. The folks doing it in Senegal, and our gender guys goes and buy and bring, they pay safer there. And we turn around and say, that's a bit of a done. Fanga ame safer. You have to produce something, sell and earn foreign currency. Another reason why the dalasi is under pressure, from southern Senegal, we used to re-export timber through our port to China and other countries. Cashew nuts, when you pass Denton Bridge, you will see the Indian stores there. They'll be dehydrating cashew nuts for re-export. Now, what happened, even during His Excellency President Macky Sall's time, they told Gambia government no timber exports through our port. They stopped that. That's why around Boyam, those economic forces there, when they say timber in your truck, they pack it. Cashew nuts from Zigansol, they use the sea to Taka and export it from their country. You know how much foreign currency that has taken out of our economy? 110 million US dollars. It's now zero. So how do we make up for that? And that puts pressure on the foreign exchange market, and that's why the dollar is under pressure. But with the creative foreign exchange management of the Central Bank of the Gambia, I'm not taking credit for it. It is the staff that are sitting here working for us as senior management who are using their brains to ensure that the reserves that we have and the foreign currency from the remittance that you mentioned, we use it in the most efficient way that we manage to try to balance aggregate demand and supply at any point in time. And that's why we took over foreign currency shipment outside the Gambia from the banks, central bank is doing it. Because what our businesses are doing also, they will buy foreign currency at any rate, take it to their banks, ship it out of the country. So what we are doing, program it in such a way that there is foreign currency always in our market. Because if they go and take a foolish decision to buy those things and put it in their banks, and the money is sitting there in their banks, they cannot take it out to replenish their nostrils, that money is still in our economy. If they want to go and buy more foreign exchange, the banks know that there is a limit as to which.
Thank you. Honorable, my name is Webu and I'm representing SS Media TV here. Basically, you made mention of Senegal, us buying from there, which you said leads to the increase of this thing saver over us. Then, I don't know whether this will be out of context, but I would love because it's a concern to Gambians. A lot of Gambians, like Senegalese in Gambia here, if you want to send money to Senegal, it's easier through your Wave Gambia. You can send to Senegal straightforwardly without taking any agency or others. But if you're out of Gambia, you're in Senegal, through your Senegalese Wave, you cannot send to Gambia here.
Yes.
What can you explain to Gambians about that?
Well, you cannot send through Wave, but you can, I believe, send through other fintech companies. These are fintech companies. Orange Money is there. You can send money from Senegal through other means. Now, that goes to even us in the central bank are looking at this. You can send outside through Wave. Sending inside, you cannot because of the supervisory and regulatory rules of DCRO. Even me, governor of the Central Bank of Gambia, this was last year. I went on a meeting at BCRO, and I spoke to my colleague governor that we need to have this inbound and outbound. I mean, BCRO is not only Senegal, it's the Francophone countries combined. So they have their own regulatory requirements. And we have not met that regulatory requirement to allow them to send from Senegal. So that's why I had to appeal to my colleague governor to say, look, whatever the regulatory requirement is, we need this outbound and inbound. At some time ago, we banned Wave from sending money to Senegal. But even with that, it doesn't necessarily impact the exchange rate. So this money, wave money going out of Gambia to Senegal is not impacting or causing the exchange rate depreciation. That is not it. The exchange rate depreciation I have explained has nothing to do with fintech companies. It's not only with Q Money, NAFA, they all sell because we imposed ban, but we gave it, allowed them to sell. The reason why Wave and others are not able to send from Senegal, like I said, they've not got the license. They've not met the regulatory requirement. And when I appealed to the governor there, he told me, okay, the director of research at BCRO and the director of research in the central bank to meet and discuss whatever they agree, then the two governors, we can sit and see how we resolve that problem so that in and outbound can happen. We are doing something about it. But the perception that because Wave is selling to Senegal, that's what is causing the dollar to depreciate is totally not true. And the evidence have not supported it. That's why we gave them back the license to operate. Instead, it's helping. The financial inclusion rate, when we did the FinScope survey in 2021, was 19%. And we developed a financial inclusion strategy document to increase the financial inclusion rate to 75% end of this year. The last survey figures I saw was 37. But the data we got from Wave, the fintech company, they are this Wave, everything we do, Wave Mako. Almost half of the population is on the Wave wallet. So that clearly indicates that we are above 50% in terms of financial inclusion rate. It increased productivity, efficiency, and the comfort, and also financial access to finance has improved. So there is a lot of benefit. Let's not look at Wave is selling to Senegal, the exchange rate is depreciating. Like I said, the evidence has not supported it. And that's why we issued the license to not only with Q Money, Afri Money, and NAFA. They are all doing it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
But then again, one might say,
Yeah.
what are some, or one might think of that, if Francophone, like for Wave and others, if they could not meet the requirement of those Francophone countries,
Yes.
how come they meet the requirement of Gambia in that finance aspect?
Okay, let me explain. There is something that we call balance of payment. I've given figures in terms of the balance of payment of the Gambia. They have restrictive, they've closed, they have a closed capital account in their balance of payment. What does that mean? Their exchange rate is not as flexible as us. If you have to do certain transactions, you have to go and get approval from the central bank. Since 1986, when Honorable Sirif Sise, my mentor, was finance minister, the economic restructuring and reforms happened here called Economic Recovery Program, ERP. That's when the Gambian economy was liberalized and the current and capital account has all been open. You don't, before, if you want to buy anything outside the Gambia, you come to the Foreign Exchange Department of the Central Bank and you get approval for your bank to sell foreign currency to you. Now, you can go walk into a bureau, go to Albert Market, buy foreign currency, and do whatever you want. We've liberalized, they have not. That is the difference. So if you, even as a businessman, you go and establish in Cote d'Ivoire, Wave is in Cote d'Ivoire, you go to Mali or Togo, certain transactions you want to do, you cannot do it. It's not only a fintech transaction because they have a closed and controlled capital account. We have a liberal and open one. Yeah.
Thank you. We can take maybe one or two more questions and we wrap up. Any more questions on the floor? No? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time and the
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.